We're back. New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg and Republican strategist Mark McKinnon are pushing back on Tea Party activism. In an effort to pull politics back to the middle, Bloomberg is throwing his weight behind national mainstream candidates who are willing to reach across the aisle. And Mark McKinnon is backing the creation of a new group called No Labels, which is designed to promote bipartisanship. Will their efforts strengthen or weaken the Republican Party? J.C. Watts, the former Republican congressman from Oklahoma, and Brendan Steinhauser's director of campaigns for Freedom Works, a conservative group headed by Dick Armey that's organized many Tea Party events. Let me go right now to J.C. Watts. Haven't seen you, Congressman, in a while. What's your view of this sort of open... They're going to be backing people, I guess you'd call them mainstream candidates. Let me just say the McKinnon Group is backing Harry Reid, Meg Whitman, Lincoln Chafee, Michael Bennet, Mark Kirk, and Joe Sestak. That's the Bloomberg Group. It's McKinnon's No Labels Group and Bloomberg's group.
Chris, I don't have any problem with that. I think they are utilizing the American political system. They are utilizing the process, trying to influence it the way that they would like to see it go. I think the Tea Party folks are doing the same thing. And Chris, I think the Tea Party folks, we're putting them in too small of a box. I don't think this just ramped up or just ignited here in the last 18 to 20 months. I think you probably would have to go back, or I could make a strong argument that you would have to go back to 1992 with Ross Perot, then 2004 with Howard Dean, although it was ignited on the left as opposed to the right. And then, here about 16, 18 months ago, it ignited again. And I don't even think it started then because of President Obama. I think the last 2.5, 3 years of the Bush administration, I saw this around the country, and I wrote about it in my columns for some time, and saying that this was going to happen, and I think the intensity is at a fever pitch level, and I think it's going to be interesting for November.
What do you make, Brendan, of the fact that they're starting to move from the center and backing the mainstream candidates against the Tea Party people?
Well, that list included Senator Bennet, I think. I mean, those are the types of candidates that we've already defeated. We've defeated them in the Republican primary, and I think we'll defeat them in the general election.
Michael Bennet. Michael Bennet.
Sorry.
He's the Democratic candidate and the incumbent in Colorado. And also people like Mark Kirk, who won the Republican nomination for the Senate in Illinois, and Meg Whitman, who won the nomination for governor in California. I mean, these are all winners. Lincoln Chafee is the only one running as an independent. The rest are all people who have won primaries. And my question to you is, are you worried that the center may hold here?
Well, I think that we've got the center. I think that our message of fiscal responsibility is the center of American politics, and I think that the polls show that. That's why Charlie Crist will be beaten by Marco Rubio in Florida, for example.
Wait a minute. These candidates don't call themselves centrist. Joe Miller is a conservative, if not a very conservative guy. Sharon Angle is very, very conservative. I think it's not fair to call them centrist.
I think that we are conservatives as a movement. I think our message is centrist in the sense that it attracts conservatives, independents, swing voters, even conservative Democrats, and that's a pretty big winning coalition for November, and that's what I think our message will be in November.
Well, I'm sorry, let's get our terms straight. Is Sharon Angle a conservative or a centrist?
I think that Sharon Angle is a conservative that has a centrist message when she's talking about fiscal responsibility, unemployment in Nevada.
Yeah, you go to that stuff. But what about Second Amendment remedies if you don't like the way Congress voted? You should take firearms and use them against Congress if you don't like the way they voted? She said that. Is that a centrist position?
I don't think that position is centrist, but I think that our message overall, when you look at fiscal responsibility, when you look at limited government, when you're looking at the types of messages that we have, and we're knocking on doors, making phone calls, this movement and the candidates that we're supporting, when they focus on those issues, we're going to win in November, and I think that's what's clear.
Yeah, well, you're trying to get them to be sound centrists when they're not. J.C. Watts, Congressman, you were a centrist, I guess you're a mainstream Republican. Do you honestly think that there's not a difference between you and the people on the far right who are running this election? Joe Miller up in Alaska, who knocked off Senator Murkowski, or Sharon Angle, who knocked off Sue Loudon in Nevada, or Mike Castle was defeated by this Christine O'Donnell. These people are from the right, and they've knocked off people from the center right.
Chris, I am a Eufaula, Oklahoma conservative that rural America community of 2,500 people that thought more about using common sense to solve problems. And I think we're getting, in politics today, I heard a pastor friend of mine say once, he said, everybody's concerned about the right wing and the left wing, and the poor bird is dying. And I think, this movement that you see, Chris, I really think it's benefiting the right. But I think there's Republicans, Democrats, moderates, conservatives out there who have rallied around, I think, excessive spending, high taxes, some constitutional issues that they're concerned about. And again, this didn't just happen and pop up in the last 16, 18 months.
I want to go over to Brendan on this, because clearly there's been rebellions against the federal government since George Washington had to put down the Whiskey Rebellion. I mean, I have the Whiskey Rebellion flag in my office. I know all about the history. But where was all this activity in the streets or in the Washington Mall under George W.? I didn't see any crowds of Glenn Beck types waving flags and showing up in the summer, raising hell under Bush. I saw a president who never vetoed a single spending bill, and a Congress obsessed with earmarks and lots of pork, and you guys didn't whimper.
That's not true at all. Freedom Works actually fought very hard against the bailouts under Bush, the spending.
Where'd
and
you
a lot
do
of
this?
The people.
Where was this done, and where was the reaction? How come it was so invisible? I had to go over to. I like Dick Armey. I went over to the headquarters of your organization to interview him, but there wasn't any rallies on the mall.
Well, we weren't able to do that yet. We were able to encourage opposition. We had to build the movement. We had to use the technology to organize this opposition that started under President Bush. By the time we did that, we got our feet under us in the fall of 2008. We had a petition where 80,000 people opposed the Wall Street bailout, and we pounded Republicans on that. And it wasn't until we were able to get our feet under us to organize so that we could do Tea Parties in 2009.
Who did the Wall Street bailout, Republican or Democrat?
Well, it was the Hank Paulson and George Bush wing of the Republican Party, the very wing that's losing right now, by the way.
Well, that's the fight that's on right now. Mr. Watts, we have to go. I'm sorry, sir. But please come back. Congressman J.C. Watts of Oklahoma. He mentioned his home state again and again. Brendan Steinhauser, thank you for joining us.